Marcus stood frozen in his kitchen doorway, watching a man who looked exactly like him pour coffee into his favorite mug. The stranger moved with familiar precision, opening the same cabinet Marcus always used, adding sugar the exact way Marcus did every morning. But Marcus was supposed to be alone in his house. He had been alone for 34 years. The doppelganger turned slowly, meeting Marcus's terrified gaze with an eerily calm smile. "Good morning, brother," the man said, his voice an identical match to Marcus's own. "I've been waiting so long to finally meet you." Marcus's hands trembled as fragmented memories clawed at the edges of his consciousness, whispered conversations between his parents, hushed phone calls, a second crib and old family photos that had mysteriously disappeared. His mother had always insisted he was an only child, that his twin brother had died during birth. But if that was true, who was this man standing in his kitchen, wearing his face like a mask? The psychological thriller that would unravel Marcus's entire reality was just beginning. The stranger introduced himself as Michael, claiming to be Marcus's twin brother who had supposedly died at birth 34 years ago. He spoke with disturbing familiarity about Marcus's life, his job at the accounting firm, his recent breakup with Sarah, even the recurring nightmare about drowning that had plagued Marcus since childhood. Michael moved through the house with unsettling confidence, touching family photos and recalling memories that Marcus couldn't quite grasp. "Our parents separated us," Michael explained, his voice carrying a weight of suppressed anger. "They kept you and gave me away. But I never forgot about you, Marcus. I've been watching, learning, preparing for this moment." He pulled out a worn photograph of two identical infants lying side by side in a hospital bassinet. The image sent ice-cold recognition through Marcus's veins. As Michael spoke, Marcus noticed subtle differences: a small scar above Michael's left eyebrow, calloused hands that suggested manual labor, and eyes that held a darkness Marcus had never seen in his own reflection. The psychological thriller was deepening, and Marcus realized his entire life might have been built on a lie. Over the following days, Michael's presence became increasingly invasive and disturbing. He would appear at Marcus's workplace, sitting in the parking lot with that same calm smile, watching through the office windows. Coworkers began commenting on Marcus's strange behavior and new look, not realizing they were seeing two different people. Michael had somehow obtained Marcus's identification, credit cards, and personal information, creating a mind-bending identity crisis. Marcus's attempts to confront their parents hit a wall of nervous denials and quickly changed subjects. His mother became visibly distressed when he mentioned finding old photos with two cribs, insisting he was imagining things. His father avoided his calls entirely. The psychological manipulation was working. Marcus began questioning his own memories and sanity. Michael's knowledge of Marcus's life proved unnaturally detailed. He knew about Marcus's fear of deep water, his childhood imaginary friend named Shadow, and intimate details about his relationship with Sarah that no one else could have known. The twisted story was revealing itself slowly, and Marcus realized that Michael's observation had been far more extensive and long-term than he had initially understood. The breakthrough came when Marcus discovered Michael's journal hidden in his own basement, a space Marcus rarely visited. The pages contained detailed surveillance notes spanning decades, photographs of Marcus at different ages, and disturbing plans for reclaiming his rightful life. Michael had been systematically studying Marcus's habits, relationships, and psychological patterns since childhood. The journal revealed that Michael had been raised by their aunt in a neighboring town, told that his parents had abandoned him but never informed about Marcus's existence until he was 18. The dark secrets buried in those pages painted a picture of obsession, resentment, and carefully calculated revenge. Michael had spent years perfecting his ability to mimic Marcus's voice, mannerisms, and behavior. More chilling were the recent entries describing Michael's infiltration of Marcus's life. He had been secretly meeting with Marcus's friends, dating Sarah behind his back, and gradually replacing Marcus in social situations. The psychological thriller was revealing its true scope. Michael wasn't just visiting, he was systematically stealing Marcus's identity and planning to eliminate him entirely. The unreliable narrator aspect became clear as Marcus realized how much of his recent life had actually been Michael's manipulation. Marcus's investigation led him to their aunt's house, where he discovered the horrifying truth about their separation. Medical records hidden in dusty boxes revealed that both twins had survived birth, but Michael had been born with a severe heart defect requiring immediate surgery. Their parents, overwhelmed by financial strain and the stress of caring for two newborns, had made the devastating decision to secretly give Michael to their aunt while telling everyone he had died. The aunt, now elderly and guilt-ridden, confirmed the story through tears. Michael had grown up knowing he was unwanted, that his parents had chosen his healthier twin over him. The psychological trauma had festered for decades, transforming into a twisted obsession with reclaiming the life he believed was rightfully his. She revealed that Michael had been institutionalized twice for stalking behavior and identity theft, but had always managed to convince doctors he was cured. The mind-bending story was reaching its climax as Marcus realized that Michael's plan was not just to replace him temporarily, it was to erase him entirely and assume his identity permanently. The dark secrets of their family had created a monster, and Marcus was running out of time to stop him. The psychological thriller intensified when Marcus returned home to find Michael entertaining Sarah in his living room, perfectly impersonating Marcus's personality and mannerisms. Sarah showed no signs of recognizing the switch, laughing at Michael's jokes and accepting his affections as if nothing had changed. Marcus watched in horror from outside his own window as Michael kissed the woman he loved, using Marcus's face and voice to manipulate her emotions. When Marcus confronted them, Sarah became confused and frightened, unable to distinguish between the two identical men. Michael's acting was flawless. He portrayed Marcus as the imposter, claiming that a deranged doppelganger had been stalking him for weeks. The twisted story reached new heights of psychological manipulation as Michael produced forged documents and fabricated evidence supporting his claims. Sarah's inability to tell them apart created a terrifying moral dilemma. How could Marcus prove his identity to someone who knew him intimately? Michael had studied every detail of their relationship, every private moment, every shared memory. The plot twist revealed that Michael had been secretly recording Marcus's conversations with Sarah for months, giving him perfect knowledge of their intimate connection. Marcus realized that his own privacy had been completely violated. The police offered no help when Marcus reported the situation. They saw two identical men making contradictory claims and dismissed it as a domestic dispute. Michael had anticipated this reaction and had spent weeks establishing himself as the real Marcus through careful social engineering. He had been gradually taking over Marcus's bank accounts, lease agreements, and professional relationships. Marcus's desperation led him to consider increasingly drastic measures. He began leaving hidden cameras around the house, trying to capture evidence of Michael's deception. But Michael seemed to anticipate every move, always performing perfectly when being recorded. The psychological thriller was becoming a deadly game of cat and mouse, with Marcus losing ground every day. The most disturbing discovery came when Marcus realized that Michael had been drugging his food, causing the memory lapses and confusion that had been plaguing him for weeks. The unreliable narrator aspect intensified as Marcus questioned which memories were real and which were products of Michael's manipulation. His grip on reality was slipping, and Michael was systematically erasing his ability to distinguish between truth and fiction. The dark secrets were consuming both brothers, creating a psychological nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. Marcus's breaking point came when he discovered that Michael had been impersonating him at work, slowly sabotaging his professional relationships and reputation. Colleagues reported that Marcus had been acting erratically, missing important meetings, and making bizarre statements about having a twin brother. Michael's psychological manipulation was so sophisticated that he was making Marcus appear mentally unstable while positioning himself as the reliable, consistent version. The twisted story reached its darkest point when Marcus found evidence that Michael had been researching methods to kill him and dispose of his body. The journal entries revealed detailed plans for making Marcus's death appear to be suicide, complete with forged notes written in Marcus's handwriting. Michael had been practicing Marcus's signature and studying his psychological profile to create a convincing narrative of mental breakdown and self-harm. Marcus realized that he was trapped in a nightmare where his own identity was being systematically erased. Every day he delayed action, Michael became more embedded in his life and more dangerous. The psychological thriller was approaching its climax, and Marcus understood that only one of them would survive this twisted game of identity theft and psychological warfare. The confrontation between the twins reached its peak in the abandoned warehouse where Michael had been secretly living and planning his identity theft. Marcus had followed him there, determined to end the psychological torture once and for all. The location was filled with surveillance equipment, thousands of photographs of Marcus, and detailed plans for assuming his identity permanently. Michael's mask of sanity finally slipped, revealing the depths of his psychological damage and obsession. He spoke with chilling detachment about his plans to kill Marcus and step into his life seamlessly. "No one will ever know the difference," Michael said, his voice now carrying a cold, predatory edge. "I've been you longer than you have." The physical confrontation that followed was brutal and desperate. Both men were equally matched in strength and size, but Michael had the advantage of years of hatred and resentment fueling his violence. As they fought among the twisted shrine Michael had built to Marcus's life, the psychological thriller reached its climax with the realization that this confrontation had been Michael's plan all along, to force Marcus into a situation where only one twin could survive. In the warehouse's final moments, Marcus made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden among Michael's obsessive documentation was evidence that their parents had been receiving anonymous threats for years, threats that escalated whenever they tried to contact their abandoned son. Michael had been tormenting their family from the shadows, using psychological manipulation to maintain control over the narrative of his own abandonment. The twisted story's final plot twist revealed that Michael had orchestrated their entire reunion, carefully manipulating circumstances to bring Marcus to this moment of confrontation. He had been planning this identity theft for decades, waiting for the perfect moment to claim the life he believed was stolen from him. The psychological thriller reached its conclusion as Marcus realized that his brother's obsession had consumed any humanity he might have once possessed. As sirens wailed in the distance, Marcus had managed to send an emergency text before the confrontation. The brothers faced each other one final time. Michael's eyes held no recognition of family bonds or shared blood, only the cold calculation of a predator who had spent a lifetime perfecting his hunt. The dark secrets had created a monster, and Marcus understood that some wounds inflicted by family can never be healed. The warehouse fell silent except for the approaching sound of police sirens, leaving viewers to wonder which brother would emerge from this psychological nightmare. This twisted story of identity theft and family secrets raises disturbing questions about the nature of identity itself. Can someone truly steal another person's life, or do we become who we choose to be regardless of our circumstances? The most haunting aspect of this mind-bending story is how Michael's childhood trauma transformed into something monstrous, while Marcus's privileged upbringing left him vulnerable to psychological manipulation. It makes us question, how well do we really know ourselves? And what would happen if someone studied us closely enough to become us? If this psychological thriller left you questioning the nature of identity and family bonds, hit that like button and share your theories in the comments below. Do you think Marcus survived? Was Michael's obsession justified by his abandonment? Subscribe for more dark secrets and twisted stories that will keep you thinking long after the video ends. Until next time, stay kind, stay sharp, and stay curious.